Hello, Gene the OK Boomer here. Welcome to today's vlog. Today we'll be going to, well, two places that you wouldn't think would be related, New York City and ancient Greece, but they actually are. You're going to see why in a moment because, the basic theme is a lesson that, it's a general comment that our liberal friends, the Democrats, the far left, they are unlearning the lessons of history. Things that, the whole point of learning history is to learn the mistakes that were made in the past. Well, learn what worked and what didn't work, and to continue and build on what worked and to abandon what didn't work. You'll see what I mean in a minute when we get to ancient Greece on this specific topic, but let me just give you this headline here. This is from the New York Post today, which is Tuesday, the day before you're seeing this. Chasing mediocrity, the left's war on excellence threatens the American dream. Parents whose kids excel in school need to be on guard. Leftist politicians and school administrators across the country, not just in New York City, are banning gifted programs in elementary and middle schools and advanced placement courses in high schools. School administrators are scapegoating gifted kids for the sake of, quote, equity, unquote. Boston suspended enrollment in its advanced learning program for 4th, 5th, and 6th graders, citing the fact that the school district is 80% black and Hispanic, while ALP enrollment is 70% white and Asian. The equity warriors are also attacking the nation's 165 competitive public high schools. From Boston to Alexandria, Virginia, and San Francisco, they are eliminating entrance exams and allocating seats by lottery or zip code. So there is a basic error here, a couple of them. First of all, I just want to get this one point across, because the point that in this one advanced enrollment, this program, that the students are 70% white and Asian. Well, actually, if you drill down farther, I'm sure you'll find this is true of a high school. I forget the name of it. There's an advanced high school in New York. That's what Betsy McCoy is talking about, the author of this article. That if you drill down into that statistic, you'll find that the majority of those students, when they say white and Asian, the vast majority are Asian. But you don't see people, well, I'm obviously a white guy and I'm not complaining. I don't complain if the vast majority are Asians, if they passed, if everybody took the same test and everybody passed, or the people who should pass, and the people who failed, it's because they simply they played on the same playing field as everybody else and they just didn't make the grade. That's all. And my advice would be, look at what the Asians are doing and doing the same thing. Maybe they're doing more homework, maybe they're spending more time studying, less time playing sports or whatever. So you have to compete with them. You have to remember that we're competing with China now. In China, they're all Asians over there, and they promote on excellence. As somebody said, even Jinping Xi, even the dictator of China, the most powerful position in China, as somebody noted, his children cannot get into the best schools if they don't pass the test. It's fair all the way across. But here, if minorities don't do well enough in something, and again, we should be a nation of individuals. It shouldn't matter, as I just said about the majority of students being Asian. I just want the best people to get promoted, especially, say, if I'm going to need an operation, I want the best doctor. I don't want somebody picked, even if the person's white and I'm white, I don't want that doctor if they're not up to snuff, and if there's a better doctor who is an Asian or black or whatever, I want that doctor to operate on me if I can choose my doctor and that doctor is available. That is just common sense, one would think, but it doesn't seem to be among the left. they look at, well, it's identity politics. They look at how many people in a program, in an advanced program, in this case, comes from this ethnic group or that ethnic group, and if not enough people of, well, if not enough black people get into a gifted program, then you either have to lower the standards so more will get in, or you have to just get rid of the program, which is what is happening with these gifted schools, or these schools for gifted students. They just, because they don't want a minority student, I guess, to see that other people of other races and ethnicities are doing better than they are. But it shouldn't matter, because there are black students in these advanced classes in these advanced schools. They are in these schools, and they should be proud. They should know that they passed the test, the same test that the Asians were taking, and they placed into it. That should be a source of pride. But the diversity quota crowd, our liberal friends, they just look at how many from each group, and they don't understand. There seems to be this belief that if a non-gifted student gets into one of these gifted schools, then they'll suddenly become gifted, and they'll do excellent work, and they'll compete at the same level as the people who did get into the program as the program was before it was either dumbed down or even existed. But that's not true. They'll just drop out early, or that's the whole point of these schools being gifted. They have more advanced classes that, frankly, I couldn't do well in. If I went into an advanced school, I didn't get into Harvard. That's why I had to go to Wayne State University, which was a good school. I don't know what it is now, but it was a good school, but it wasn't Harvard. But I took the SATs, and I didn't, my grades, my SAT scores, they weren't good enough to get into Harvard. I just accept that. That's just the way it is. But now they've been using quotas, keeping Asian students out, which is what is important to note. This is the other point I was going to make, that if you lower the standards to get more lower performing students, and they don't do well, but also you deny places to the advanced students who would do well and who would be of a benefit. This will be another subject. I've talked about this in the past, and I'll do this for another vlog, because as I've said before, I'm a real estate broker, semi-retired now, commercial real estate broker, and I work with a lot of food people who open restaurants, and the point is, they're blue-collar people. They're not people with advanced degrees, and some of them, they're multimillionaires. You can make a lot of money working with your hands and doing other professions. It's not the be-all and end-all to have a college education, except that those are the people apparently who are more likely to vote for Democrats. That's why I think that's one reason why our friends on the left are so eager to get, to have free college and everything, because they are, just as they're keeping an open border, which was yesterday's subject, deliberately keeping the border open, it's to increase the number of what they believe will be Democratic voters sometime in the future. And that's what they're doing here, because blue-collar people, especially now, a lot of working people, they are turning against the Democrats, which was not the case when I was young. The blue-collar workers were overwhelmingly, well, as I said in that earlier vlog, they were called, there was a name for them, lunch pail Democrats. They were the people who brought the lunch pail to work, and they worked on the line or whatever, and they did manual labor. And there's nothing wrong with it. That's my point. They're manual labor, working with your hands. I mean, if there weren't people working with their hands, we would all starve. and it shall be there's no shame in working with your hands, and that's the point I want people. If you don't get into an advanced gifted program or into college at all, don't feel bad. In fact, there's one, I think it's Peter Thiel, a billionaire. He has a venture capital fund, and he funds young people, and one of his requirements is that you cannot have gone to college. And these are high-tech people, the kind of people that will create the next Facebook or Google or whatever, some kind of software or whatever kind, or the next Tesla. And he requires that they have not gone to college, because college, it just makes you conform, and it dumbs you down according to this investor. And with that prelude, now let's go to ancient Greece, because this is unlearning something that, well, I mentioned the Chinese, that they go strictly on merit. They graduate multiple numbers of engineering students, STEM students, for instance, than we do, which is a problem. But also they have the strictest requirements to be a STEM student, there's science, technology, and engineering and mathematics. Well, we are dumbing to get more women or more minorities to go into science, especially women, because women, as Jordan Peterson said, hopefully you know who he is, if not you can look him up. Jordan Peterson said that men and women are different. Men like things, women like people, and it even is true in medical school, he pointed out. Pediatricians, the people who deal with patients on a person-to-person basis, those are overwhelmingly women. But anesthesiologists, I believe the figure is 75%. People who just deal with equipment. I mean, my only contact with an anesthesiologist when I had a operation many years ago, they wheel you into the operating room, and the anesthesiologist, he gives you a shot or something, and then he puts a mask on you and he says, count to 10, and you never get to 10. You're under by time you get to 5 or 6, if you get that far, and that's it. That's if you're a people person, you don't want to be an anesthesiologist, because your whole job is just putting a mask on somebody and saying count to 10, and they never even get to 10. So you see there's a difference. But now let's go to ancient Greece, because this is a lesson that was taught in a very dramatic way that changed the entire course of civilization. You look at what's going on, how crazy the Middle East is outside of Israel. It's because of the Battle of Thermopylae that occurred in 480 BC. And this was 2 years after the Battle of Marathon, another important battle, the same general war, which was obviously 490 BC. But that the Greeks, a relatively small force, I think 7,000 Greeks held off. It was estimated to be 1 million Persians who were attacking. Xerxes was his name. He wanted to conquer Greece, and he failed. He lost that battle. Part of it was because of geography. They had to go through a narrow pass, the Persians did, and it made it easier for a small number of Greeks to hold off a large number of Persians. But the main difference was that on the Persian side, and you saw this in the Middle East as recently as the 67 war between Israel and all the Arab countries, maybe sooner, where the commander of the army would be a cousin of the king or the president or whatever, or the president for life, would be a relative or somebody somehow connected, and they would get this high position. Whereas Greece, they picked the best warriors, they picked the best commanders. That was the important part, on merit. And that made the difference. That was a major difference, and that was the difference in the '67 war, because if you were politically connected and made the right contacts on the Arab side, then you were the brother or cousin of the dictator. Then you were the commander of the army. You would have a high position, whereas in Israel it was strictly by merit. The best commander, the best with the best leadership ability, could be the commander. And also, even the lower level people, not the privates all the way down, but they're encouraged to think for themselves, which was another difference. Just as a quick aside, if they were cut off from their leadership, or things changed on the ground suddenly, they could take the initiative to deal with the situation as it was, whereas on the Arab side, they couldn't do anything. They were trained in Russian tactics, because that was the Russian method too, where you had to get permission from the top echelon to do anything, from the general or whoever. So there would be this delay to deal with changing conditions. But the main point is that an army were commanded by people who were commanding because of their excellence as commanders and leaders. Fighting again could defeat a much larger army where the commanders were chosen by a method other than merit. That's my only point, and that's the lesson that we are unlearning, or on the left, that they think if you just take non-gifted students and you put them into the gifted class, or if you get rid of these programs completely and force the gifted students to work at a lower level so as not to hurt the feelings of the other students who aren't doing as well, that's going to have disastrous consequences for our civilization going down the line. I mean, going forward, generation after generation. That if the ancient Greeks had chosen their commanders the way the Persians did, the Persians would have won, and we would all, well, who knows, maybe we would all be Muslims, maybe we would all be speaking Arabic or Persian, I would guess, or maybe, we would be like the Middle East, where they're not advanced countries. They rely on Western technology. They don't create much technology themselves, and the whole world perhaps could be like that. Or maybe just the whole Western world would be like the Middle East, and then in China they would probably be the most advanced. They would be ruling the world, probably. So that's my only point. It's important to learn the lessons of history, and I hope most of you enjoyed this vlog, and that you'll come back and see me again. I hope if you have any comments, questions, suggestions for future topics, you can put them in the comments section below the video. If you could subscribe, that would really be great. Share the video with anybody you think would also like it. But most of all, come back and see me again. I would love to see all of you again. I look forward to seeing all of you again. And until I do see all of you again, bye.